The Wild West is a vast, Western-themed open-world Roblox game, and I would argue it might just be one of the best on the platform, but it took time to get there, which might have been the ultimate downfall of this game. It all started on the 29th of July, where Tyridge, the owner of the Wild West, had uploaded a video of an early look of the snakes in-game. Tyridge posted 3 showcase videos before finally revealing to the public that he was working on an open-world Western game. Shortly after, an application for game testers was opened, hosting multiple test sessions to fix up bugs. 6 months and a bunch of interesting sneak peeks later, the game was finally released on the 16th of February 2019. People could now play, enjoying the first iteration of the best game ever. The game was closed after just 2 days of it being published, but they promised a lot more content when they opened it again. The planned re-release was on Friday, which was 4 days after closure. But in classic Wild West fashion, it was delayed. But it eventually released just 4 more days after the promised release, which seems like nothing compared to future updates. In this release, the game looked a lot better compared to launch, with a bigger map, more wildlife, and overall just felt more alive. It was now March, and Tyridge announced that the game will be behind a paywall of 50 Robux, and also promised to add new features such as shops, better robberies, trains, etc. within the next couple of days. But it was delayed. Fortunately, the delay was only for 6 days, and on the 16th of March 2019, Tyridge finally updated the game. Now people could rob banks and trains, buy things from shops, and some other features, which I'm not really sure, because all the changelogs are in a deleted channel. And around this time, Flamingo, a Roblox YouTuber, made his first Wild West video, which will later have a huge effect on the game. Just 9 days after this update, Axelzz, a developer of the Wild West, announced that they were working on a new major update and would be released in the next couple of weeks. After 1 month, Tyridge released a new update, but it was mostly improvements in scripts, an anti-cheat, and more. This mini update also switched from the old spawn menu to this one. After that update, there was no news of a new one, until a month later, Axelzz posted a dev blog explaining why there was none. The main reason being slow revenue and other life responsibilities. Basically, they had a life outside of Roblox. Crazy, I know. After that blog post, almost 3 months had passed before any notable news on a new update was dropped. But on the 9th of August 2019, Tyridge announced that the new update will have all these features. And the best part, it was going to release in just 4 days. But it was delayed. This time, the delay lasted 23 days before Tyridge released one of the biggest updates, adding new weapons, roles, map improvements, and a bunch of overhauls. And just 2 months later, on the 1st of November, the first Halloween update was released, adding lore, new enemies, and the Wendigo. Although I don't know much info since there's nothing about the event listed anywhere. During Christmas of 2019, there was no event, but instead a winter sale which decreased the price of game passes by 50% and also decreased paid access from 50 Robux to 25 Robux, letting in more new players. After that, there was no updates for 5 whole months. There was some sneak peeks, but that's about it. Until suddenly, another major update was dropped. This update added a new region, more script optimization, and other quality of life improvements. But most importantly, the game was now free to play. This made the Wild West shoot up in popularity, going from 500 active players to a staggering 8,000 in just a day. And with this update came the Roblox Egg Hunt, which the Wild West was participating in. Players had to complete a hidden parkour in the mountains to get the Doc Holiday hat. Alongside this, YouTubers and devs got access to the egg launcher. On the 11th of April 2020, Flamingo had posted another video on the Wild West. This video was by far the most popular Wild West video ever posted, which gave even more attention to the game. The Egg Hunt, Free-to-Play, and Flamingo had all contributed to a massive peak of 17,000 players. There was not much happening after that. The devs were working on fixing bugs behind the scenes and announced that the Egg Hunt would be concluded on the 29th of April. In this blog post, Axelzz also mentioned that a new major update including factions and player building was coming in the next few weeks. I think you know what happens next though. 3 months after the update announcement, Axelzz made another dev blog regarding the update and sharing progress. In this dev blog, the first mention of progression update was also announced, which would add a leveling feature and help new players progress. And almost 2 months and a few dev blogs later, Tyridge announced all the features that would be added to the game in this major update, such as a banking system, woodcutting, a steamboat, and factions. 8 days later, the update was finally released. They also decided to keep the game free to play, and previous players who had bought access would get a name tag and an exclusive weapon soon. This update also boosted the active player count from an average of 3,000 players to a peak of 9,000 players. And as they released this update, they also released a teaser for a completely new game, The Wild Seas, coming 2021. Almost a month later, a dev blog was posted which mentioned the addition of forts. And just 10 days later, another update was introduced, with the main addition being forts that other factions could fight for. Now you may think it would take another few months for an update, but just 10 days later, a new Halloween update was released. The devs were absolutely cooking at this time, managing to release 3 updates within the time frame of a month. This Halloween update added way too much for me to explain, but in short, there was a new underground location called the Forest of Bones with a skeleton horse boss. Killing this boss would give you bones to use in the buried library, making you sacrifice the mule for the fastest horse in the game, the skeleton horse. This update also added one of the coolest enemies, the Wendigo, which gave you some cosmetics for killing it. After just a week, the Halloween event was rolled back. Now you'd think that would be the end of updates for a long time, but you would be wrong because just a month and a half after the Halloween event, another update was released, the North Pole update. This update decorated almost the entire map with snow/Christmas themed things, and added a new horse called the Reindeer Horse. To get the Reindeer Horse, players had to arrest criminals, which would give them a golden ticket. This ticket would give you access to Santa's workshop, leading you to the maze. In this maze, there were 3 totems that you had to activate, with all of them being surrounded by polar bears. After activating the totems, you could find the chest and claim the Reindeer Horse. Also, paid access rewards was finally given out to players who had played the Wild West during paid access after a measly 3 months. It was now 2021, and after that spree of updates, there wasn't much news. However, after about a month, Kaz released a roadmap of all the new things that would be released in the year 2021. We'll see how this turned out later.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
The Wild West was also nominated for 2 categories in the 8th annual Bloxy Awards, one being the best sleeper hit and the best game trailer. But after the votings concluded, the Wild West unfortunately lost in both categories. On the 8th of May 2021, Kaz released another dev blog updating the player base about progress. The building update was mentioned, but had no sign of coming anytime soon due to technical challenges. Kaz also showed a sneak peek of a house made using the building feature. In this devlog, 9 new weapons were teased, hinting at the upcoming auction house. And on the 24th of the same month, the auction house update was released. This update added 9 new auction guns, MIDI support for bands, legendary animals, and 8 new instruments. This is also the time where I joined the Wild West. After the auction house update, everything came to a halt. There was absolutely no news about a new update until after 5 months, when Kaz released a devlog updating the player base on the progression and building update on the 18th of October. In this devlog, a sneak peek of a player-made house was also attached. On the 2nd of November, Kaz officially announced that they were working on a Halloween update, also attaching some balance changes for the Spitfire, the most expensive gun in the game that was added in the auction update. Just 6 days after that announcement, the next installment of the Halloween update, Sinner's Moon, was released. Players could kill skeletons to obtain bones to enter the Forest of Bones, with NPCs, new zombie bears, and a new boss. There were a ton of items added in this update, with the coolest one being the cursed volcanic pistol and the Wendigo horse. With this update, the active player count had spiked to a whopping 11,000 players. That is the most active players the game had seen before the egg hunt. Sinner's Moon ended on the final day of November, and after 25 days, another event was released, Frozen Days. This update was another installment of the Christmas update, and it added trading, a snowy map, and a knife called the Kukri in the auction house. This event added 2 sides, naughty and nice, with both sides having their own currency and items. And to get these currencies, outlaws and citizens had to fight around Krampus's castle, with both roles dropping their own coins on death. There was also a new boss fight with Krampus, dropping guns, cosmetics, and an extremely rare chance of an ancient relic, which would be used in the upcoming building update. Personally, I think this is by far the best update the Wild West has ever had. I loved how everyone was in a different area other than Bronze City, and you can't forget the amazing soundtrack. Well, turns out building in progression wasn't coming anytime soon, because it's now the 8th of March 2022, and none of the promised updates for 2021 have arrived as mentioned in the roadmap. Told you so. Kaz posted another devlog about progress, teasing more progression photos and other features, but aside from that, it was kind of a nothing burger. I think this is where the Wild West starts its downfall. Well, it's been 5 months now, and there was still no sign of an update. There was, however, a devblog specifying why the updates were taking so long. Right after this devblog, the player count started to decline. Turns out, when you don't update a game, people won't play your game. Crazy, I know. After 3 months, on the 1st of November 2022, a new Halloween update was released. Could this be the return of Prime Wild West? No. This event was just a rerun of the previous 2021 Halloween update, but this time you could get a new 2D crown from killing the skeleton boss in the Forest of Bones. Cool. Halloween 2022 only lasted a week, and on the 13th of November, a new update was released. This update added a new weapon to the auction house and revamped Pinewood Hills. Yeah, that's it. It was also confirmed that a Christmas update would not be held for 2022, making 2022 by far the worst year for the Wild West. Around 3 months later, Kaz had shared a sneak peek teasing a possible update, and after 8 days, the Treasure Hunt update was released. This update added a new treasure hunt feature, allowing players to solve riddles that led them to locations where they can dig up chests with loot. It also added a new weapon, the Martini Henry.
Another small update?
That's right, another small update. After that update, it was dead silent for around 7 months before updating the game with yet another small update, Faction Wars. Players belonging to other factions could go to places around the map and claim the territories, giving their faction notoriety. Other faction members could fight over the territories. This was a pretty cool update, but notoriety being completely useless kind of ruined it. It did nothing but put your faction into a leaderboard. A month after Faction Wars, on the 16th of October 2023, the Wild West was now on PlayStation and Xbox. I guess they thought if they added their game onto consoles, the Wild West would magically have like a gazillion active players. Okay, look, I can see why they wanted console support, like they wanted console users to experience the Wild West, but like, come on dude, there are way better things to focus on. Just 15 days later, TSGMAXHEADRUMGAMING announced that a new Halloween update was coming, and this time it wasn't a rerun. TSGMAXHEADRUMGAMING couldn't release it on the usual 1st of November, so he announced that it was going to release on the 2nd. This was the first real update in a long time, so you know the community was excited.
Yes.
The update is delayed.
In classic Wild West fashion, it was delayed. If there is one thing we've learned today, it's that you should never trust a release date. After around 19 days from the promised release date, the Undead Legends event was finally released. This was the first real major update in the last 2 years, and it added some pretty cool content. A new location under the church was added, with a massive Tesla on top. You could start an event with Dr. Lazarus, showing a cutscene and starting a thunderstorm. You could stop this thunderstorm by obtaining 50 vials of lightning with the extractor, giving you a new reskinned weapon. With this update, the classic Wendigo was also back, but this time, it came with a new creature, the Skinwalker. The Skinwalker was basically a Wendigo but on steroids. It could be spawned by dropping the blood of each animal, and if you were too far away, it would just pull you in. And if you were ragdolled, it would still attack you. This update also added a bunch more cosmetics you could get, but it's too much to fit in this video, so here's all of the items. After Undead Legends, the devs also dropped the first Christmas update in 2 years. But here's the thing, I don't think they worked all that much on this one, so it's really small. This update only added a new rifle which you could obtain by killing evil snowmen, which would drop frosty gun parts. Giving these gun parts to Santa rewarded you with the red nose rifle, which was a reskin of an existing weapon. There were also some new cosmetics, with some of them being reruns, but aside from that, that's all there was to this update. 6 months after the Christmas update, Kaz released another devlog, this time mentioning news regarding the progression update, which was supposed to drop 3 years ago in 2021. This devlog was only focused on the progression update, so it was clear that it was coming soon. 4 months passed by, and nearly a year after the Halloween update, TSGMAXHEADRUMGAMING had posted a devlog on the progress of the updates, but everyone ignored the devlog and hyper-focused on this, a release date for the sought-after progression update. People were hyped. This update was only a month away and might just save the Wild West. 12 days has passed, and the next installment of the Halloween update was released. However, this was just another rerun of the Undead Legends event, but it was either a rerun or no progression update, so people understood what they had to do. The time has come. It was now mid-November, and the progression update was finally... Did we learn nothing from our previous experiences? The update was delayed, and this time there was absolutely no communication. Dead silence. But hey, at least we get another rerun of the Christmas update. It was now 2025, and there was still no sign of any communication or update, until finally, after 5 months of the devlog from TSGMAXHEADRUMGAMING, a trailer for the progression update was released. The community was excited. People were making fan theories based on the trailer. Okay, maybe that's a little too schizo. But there was another side of skepticism. After the announcement of the Wild Seas, which was supposed to come out in 2021, some people didn't think this update was ever going to release. Around the middle of April, the Wild West was at its absolute lowest in terms of active players. The game was practically dead at this point. Well, 2 months after the trailer, on the 9th of May 2025, the progression update was finally here. The update was real, and the hype was through the roof. The most notable additions were skill trees, dynamic NPCs, reworks to all roles, performance improvements, and a bunch of new items. This update gained a peak of 9,600 active players, which is the 3rd highest active player count in the history of this game. People were playing again, the economy was thriving, and while the player count was definitely declining, it was bound to happen due to the nature of video games. Now here's a few caveats. The progression update is definitely amazing, especially the new bank heist, but it was definitely not worth 4 entire years. A lot of people complained that this update just made the game even more grindy with no sense of purpose. And don't forget the soft pay-to-win features that were added too. I was also a part of this angry community, but Tired said that this update would bring other new updates, since this is just a foundation, so I still had hope. That's until 2 months later, where on the 29th of June 2025, Tired had officially announced that he would stop working on the Wild West. The community was devastated. A lot of the old-time members felt betrayed after sticking around for so long, just to be left in the dust. Why did he do this? Well, imagine working on the very same thing for 6 whole years with a community of 100,000 people demanding an update. Now, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but I can't even focus on something for more than a month or two. So seeing someone working on their game for 6 years is pretty dang impressive. I do feel a little betrayed, especially with the extra monetization right before quitting. So now what? Well, Tarj is now working for Splitting Point Studios as the lead engineer, which is a game studio owned by Jandal, the owner of Grow a Garden. Tarj stated that he wanted to work on more mobile-friendly games, since it's the most popular device on Roblox. Did he quit for the money? I have no idea. Tarj himself denies the claim, saying he's not passionate on the Wild West anymore. Now, what do I think? Well, personally, I was kind of disappointed, especially with the promise of future updates after progression. But after thinking about it some time, I totally understand his actions. If I was one of the most talented developers on Roblox, I wouldn't continue working on a game that was being outperformed by games like Steal a Brainrot. Personally, I'm excited for what games he will develop. Let's just hope it's not as pay to win as Grow a Garden. Also, here's a quick sneak peek of a new game Tarj was working on 2 years ago. Outro time. Subscribe and like the video with the bell, join my Discord, comment your thoughts, join the Discord, subscribe, run the video up. I love you all, bye bye.